I'm back. Jesus, that's a really uncomfortable way to travel. Star Trek lied to me. Wonder who that guy was. What exactly he wanted from me. Oh well, at least he's gone now and I don't have... Crap. Well, I guess now since I have to, I guess I'm going to be reviewing this now. Ladies and gentlemen, Digimon World 3.
Digimon, forever united as one. Digimon, together the path is our one. Digimon, through us let your spirit evolve. We're all for one world, there's a world for us all. We're all for one world, there's a world for us all. Digimon.
Before anyone asks, no, I'm not trying to infer that Digimon World 3 is the best of the World games. In my humble opinion, that honor belongs to the first game, but I have heard people lobbying for the second game as well. But I do think it's a vastly underrated game, and it's certainly much better than Digimon World 4, which, as I've explained, did everything in its power to try and destroy or ignore many of the established facts about the Digimon mythos, and was overall a very boring game. Of course, it's not hard to see why many people dislike this game. I mean, there are a few elements of it that I personally dislike as well. And it is a very simplistic game, but in there lies some of its beauty. The first two games were relatively complicated and did require you to pay a lot of attention to details, but here it's much more streamlined, more simplistic. And not to mention the story and the gameplay isn't that bad either. So let's take a look at just why I like this game so much. And then let's take a look at why people seem to hate it. So the game kicks off by introducing us to our main character, Junior, who is waiting for his two friends Ivy and Teddy to show up so that they can go online and start playing Digimon World Online. This is where people really started to hate the game, I think, because this whole first part of the game seems to infer that the digital world is nothing more than a man-made invention, the equivalent to an MMORPG. Well, yes, it does actually sound like it's going against the mythos again. This I can actually defend because the digital world here may seem like a man-made invention at first, but the deeper that you get into the story, the more it becomes apparent that it wasn't entirely a man-made creation or a man-made program. It's actually more like humans settled there, but the Digimon were already there, so I could equate it kind of to a less bloody Pilgrims and Indians story. This theory is bolstered by a few other subplots that appear throughout the game, such as the AOA terrorists and a hacker who goes by the name of Lucky Rat, who apparently can hack into any program, and the digital world being a world of data is of course his playground. Anyway, Teddy and Ivy show up and the three of them go together to the main desk, where they log in, create their accounts, and then choose their Digimon packs, which is basically your three partner Digimon that you start with. I prefer the balanced pack because I'm boring like that, and thus your adventure begins. From here you're told that your task is to travel around the world and defeat the 4 gym leaders, who will then give you, their badges so that you can participate in some ultimate Digimon championship later on in the game. Gee, does anybody else find that kind of familiar? Yes, as we'll see, this game actually borrows quite a few mechanics from the Pokemon series. Kind of ironic when you consider how unfairly Digimon has been compared to Pokemon over its entire run. But with that out of the way, I do have to say that the plot at first glance may seem very simple and childish, but when you get right down to it, it actually does have quite a few really good plot twists to it. It just takes a little while to get there. The part with the gym leaders and trying to find badges and make it to the World Championships and stuff only really takes up about the first third of the game. After that, the terrorist and hacker plots really start to take precedent, and you'll be focusing on them for pretty much the rest of the game. In other words, it starts out slow, but it really picks up near the end. Now, while I did say that the game borrows a lot of Pokemon's mechanics, it actually does quite a few interesting things in terms of the battle system and how you raise your Digimon. And it's not like you can capture wild Digimon in this. No, that doesn't happen here. It is a bit of a shame, but, well, you do get to recruit other Digimon later on in the game. But let's take a look at the gameplay mechanics a bit closer than that. Like I said at the start of the game, you have the ability to choose between 3 different packs of Digimon to start with. The Balanced Pack, the Attack Pack, or the Maniac Pack, each one having different Digimon with different stats and abilities that will affect how you play the game. The world is a very free-roaming one. You can pretty much go anywhere in the sector that you start in, but you do have to be careful because this can lead to you accidentally running into Digimon that are too strong for your monsters to defeat. Now once you enter combat, this is where the Pokemon references really start to build up, as each battle is one-on-one and you can only carry 3 Digimon at a time. You can swap out Digimon in the middle of combat, but you usually don't want to do this because it wastes 1 turn. And each Digimon, brace yourself for this, actually starts with their specialty attack. This is already leagues above Digimon World 4 and I am loving it. After my experience with Digimon World 4, which I actually got before this game, you have no idea how refreshing it is just to see Patamon using his Boom Bubble attack again. Anyway, all of your Digimon initially start out at level 1 and at rookie level, but as they level up, they will eventually learn how to Digivolve to champion form. But unlike their rookie levels, which start out with their signature techniques, the champion forms and subsequently the ultimate and mega forms do not learn any techniques until they level up their skill levels a little bit. Another key feature to this game is the ability to train your Digimon. Once you have access to gyms, every time you gain a level, you will earn 5 trainer points, which you can then spend in leveling up a character's wisdom, strength, defense, etc. I'm especially confused on how they can get the wisdom problems wrong since they just repeat the same math problem over and over again, but hey, what you gonna do? It's at this point that the game really does start to excel because it does take advantage of the fact that it has training and Digivolution in the same game. In this game, each Digimon is not limited to only 1 tree of Digivolution. They actually have about 4 different trees that you can unlock throughout the course of the game, provided that you are training them in the right stats to unlock the Digivolution tree. And like I've mentioned several times now, you can get several other Digimon partners that will follow you around as well, though you are limited to 3 on your team at any one time. So while this does get compared to Pokemon quite a bit, just in its base mechanics, as you can see, it actually does have a lot more going for it than that. The early fights are really the only downside to the whole gameplay element, because they are very, very boring. The overall battle system is very simplistic. The fights are one-on-one and you can fight, use special techniques, Digivolve, or tag your fellow Digimon in and out. In this way, they do keep it very simple, but relatively engaging, and most of the early fights can be ended with 1 special attack, but later fights actually do get a lot more complicated and a lot tougher. The early fights are just boring because you'll be doing them a lot, seeing as how you have to do a lot of grinding. By the time you reach champion level, things do get a lot more interesting, if only for the fact that your champion Digimon, and subsequently Ultimate, Mega, etc., they don't start out with their own specialty techniques, and in fact learn generic attacks and spells as they level up, learning their signature attacks later on. The fights especially start to pick up when you start fighting bosses and other tamers, mostly because those Digimon are, well, much more powerful and well trained. You can also cause your Digimon to Digivolve to the next level even without learning that Digivolution technique, if your Digimon takes enough abuse in battle. This will fill up a meter in the corner of the screen, which acts as sort of a temporary transformation, like a warp Digivolve. Also, I'm pretty sure this wasn't intentional, but if you look real hard in this game, you can find plenty of instances where the creators were paying homage to the anime series and all 3 of the seasons that had come before it. For example, the very first fight in this game is against a Kawagamon. And then of course there's one of the best sequences in this entire game. One that really made me feel nostalgic for my Saturday morning cartoon games, and is also a great feature in terms of this game's battle system. You can DNA Digivolve. Yes, provided you have the 2 Digimon needed to perform this maneuver, you can DNA Digivolve when you choose to tag out your Digimon. And it is a sequence that's mimicking Season 2's DNA Digivolution so closely, it is almost fantastic, and creates a badass. The only downside to this is that the DNA Digivolution doesn't stick around. It's more like a super move, one shot and then it disappears. Of course, as I have freely admitted, nothing is perfect and neither is this game. There are a few niggling nitpicks that I must point out here that do hold this game back from being great, but still aren't enough to justify the hate that people seem to give this game.